And welcome back to the channel. I'm Brant Fowler, and I'm ready to talk with you about only good comics. Now let's hit that intro. This time, we're going to talk about Crossover from Donny Cates and Geoff Shaw, published by Image Comics. Now, before we get into today's video, if you do enjoy the content on this channel, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video going up on Only Good Comics. And give us a thumbs up because it really does help the channel out. And you can follow me across social media at Only Good Comics. Now, let's get back to today's video. If you're not familiar with Crossover, it is a really cool series that, well, I mean, the name kind of implies exactly what it is. It is a crossover, and it kind of embodies this dream project that all of us have imagined probably since we were kids reading comics from different companies, and that is a massive crossover that involves characters across all comicdom, if you will. Not just Image Comics characters, but also a bunch of Easter eggs from Marvel and DC characters as well, like the Incredible Hulk and Doctor Strange and Superman and Batman and so on and so forth. But from Image, like actual characters that could be injected into this, Shadowhawk and Savage Dragon and Invincible, and characters like Madman, and talking about going into the actual plot of the story, characters from a series called Paybacks made a pretty significant appearance in this. Characters and a weapon from God Country took center stage. The Brian Michael Bendis characters from Powers took a distinctive role in this as they try to solve a mystery, which I'll get into in a little bit more detail in just a bit. And other characters like Negan from The Walking Dead, which was a huge cliffhanger and very nice plot twist kind of in the middle of the story, which nobody saw coming and was really cool. I won't spoil too much more of that kind of thing for you, but it's just really cool. And not only actual comic book characters, but comic book creators as well, because as we learn throughout the series, comic book writers have become a central plot point of this as a murder mystery starts to develop because they're being found dead. So one issue, writer Chip Zdarsky took over and kind of injected himself into the story, and we got to learn more about his character and his actual person because there was multiple versions of him. And it becomes a really interesting story going forward. Even the creator of this crossover, Donny Cates, makes a couple of appearances and becomes a significant character in the story as well. So basically, that's kind of the overall gist of Crossover. Like, you don't really need to say more than that. It's a bunch of characters from all of comics in a comic together. That's a pretty cool concept, and there's murder mysteries and stuff. But to go into a little bit more detail about the actual story, what happened was in 2017 in the Denver, Colorado area, this big giant dome appeared, and all of these comic book characters came to life. As we start getting into issue 1, we start seeing this kid reading this comic, and the panels start bleeding out as these creations on paper are coming to life and bleeding out into the real world. And so we pick up the story 5 years later, where this appearance of this dome and these characters who are significantly seen by the half pixel tone all over their skin, and some of them use makeup to conceal it and that kind of thing. But if you come across one of those that have the half pixel, you know they're from the dome. And so we pick up with this character Ellie, whose parents went missing when this dome appeared, and so she's a comic book geek. She's into all this thing. She works at a comic book store and all that stuff. So she's our entry point character, and the one that is most relatable to us as comic readers, right? So she gets this ragtag group together, which includes the Paybacks, and tries to get to the dome to find out what happened to her parents and try to sneak inside because that's not allowed. And meanwhile, we have the subplot of these zealots, these religious zealots that hate these comic book characters and think they're not of God, they're sinful. God hates masks, God hates superheroes. It's all over the place, they're all over the news, and they're led by this pastor who's kind of manipulating his son to carry out these orders like that as well. And it becomes this whole thing, this battle between them. But that's just a subplot of the whole thing, because the greater mystery is, again, the comic book writers have gone missing and wind up dead, and we still don't know why these comic book characters have even come to life, how they've come to life. And so all that starts playing into it. The Powers characters start investigating the murder mystery. So that's, I mean, it's on brand, right? It's pretty cool that the way they come into the story as well, and how Negan gets involved and the whole thing as well is pretty cool. So it's just a really neat concept where we get to see all these characters that we love, from characters like Madman, characters like I said, God Country come into play, and I don't know, just I can't think of all the characters that we got Easter eggs and visualizations of. Invincible makes an appearance, and so on and so forth. But it's just this, even if you're just in the story to see all the Easter eggs and just to see all the characters interacting with each other, there's something there for you. If you like murder mysteries and life imitating art imitating life, and that whole kind of thing, and going completely overboard with that, playing with the idea of that on both sides of the spectrum, then there's something there for you. If you're just in it for like these big heavy action sequences and bombastic battles between kaiju like Godzilla and giant robots and superheroes and fantasy characters and all this stuff just intermeshed, there's something there for you. The subplot of the religious and political aspects of the story, and the writer getting involved in this creation. There's just so many things that you could latch onto as any kind of comic fan in this story, that it's just a really cool concept and phenomenally done. Now, there are parts in the story where it gets a little bit slower. So like you'll have a couple of issues that are just like really fast-paced plot twists and everything, and then you'll take a beat and you'll slow down for 2 or 3 issues, and it does lull a little bit because of the pacing of the release dates and everything. But when you're reading this now, that all 13 issues so far, more on that in a second, are out, you can read it as fast or as slow as you want to, or if you're reading it via trades, the same concept applies there. So your reading experience might be different than those of us that read this monthly. But if you were reading it monthly, if you decided that, okay, I'm going to get all these issues and read one a month or whatever, and even take a few weeks off or whatever, you might start feeling like it gets a little slow. But the cool thing about the pacing of the story is, even when you have those lulls, the next issue that is just like a cliffhanger or one of those plot twists, it's so big and so unexpected that it makes up for the slow times, because it's like, oh, this is what they were building to, and it's really cool, and it gets you right on board. We talked about this on Comic Book Weekly. Every time we get to one of those moments, it'd be like, oh, I was like worrying about it, if I was losing interest just a little bit, and then boom, they hit me with that, and it's like you pull me right back in, and I'm just so excited for it to see where it goes now. So 13 issues. It's on hiatus right now. We don't know if it's coming back or if it's done or what's going to happen with it. Donny Cates obviously very busy with all his Marvel work. And speaking of, if you are a fan of his Venom run or Thor or whatever he's worked on over at Marvel. If you're a fan of that stuff and you have not checked out Crossover, you owe it to yourself to go check that out. Not too long ago, a few months ago, they released a 3D version of issue 1. I have not even opened this. It's still in the plastic there. I think Mike Spiderslayer opened this and took a look at it, and he said it was pretty cool. So I'm curious to do that. I'm eventually going to do that. But definitely go check this out. Buy it and trade. Hunt down the single issues. Whatever you have to do. But do that. Just go do that. Put it on your Christmas list. Whatever. To get this book in your hands and check it out. Even if it's just to geek out over all the Easter eggs. It's worth it. It's a really cool story, and I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite from the past couple of years, and I'm eventually going to read this again because I enjoyed it so much, and looking back through it for the purposes of this video got me excited about it all over again. I'm like looking, oh, has he mentioned it in any articles? Is it going to come back and that kind of thing? No news yet, but I'm hopeful because I'm excited about it, and I know that if you read it, you will be too. So check it out. Crossover from Donny Cates and Geoff Shaw, Image Comics. Fantastic read. And with that said, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. It really does help with the channel. Give me a subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the notifications here. And you can also follow me at Only Good Comics. And until next time, thanks for watching. Join me for more good comics in the next video. Take care.